preserver and protector of all.
One bottle there. And orange bag.
Hmm? Okay. Karthik, you can switch off your audio. O Parvardigar, the preserver and protector of all, you are without beginning and without end, non-dual, beyond comparison, and none can measure you. You are without color, without expression, without form, and without attributes. You are unlimited and unfathomable, beyond imagination and conception, eternal and imperishable. You are indivisible and none can see you but with eyes divine. You always were, you always are, and you always will be. You are everywhere, you are in everything, and you are also beyond everywhere and beyond everything. You are in the firmament and in the depths. You are manifest and unmanifest on all planes and beyond all planes. You are in the three worlds and also beyond the three worlds. You are imperceptible and independent. You are the Creator, the Lord of Lords, the knower of all minds and hearts. You are omnipotent and omnipresent. You are knowledge infinite, power infinite, and bliss infinite. You are the ocean of knowledge, all knowing, infinitely knowing, the knower of the past, the present, and the future, and your knowledge itself. You are all merciful and eternally benevolent. You are the soul of souls, the one with infinite attributes. You are the trinity of truth, knowledge, and bliss. You are the source of truth, the ocean of love. You are the ancient one, the highest of the high. You are Prabhu and Parameshwar. You are the beyond God and beyond God also. You are Parabrahma, Allah, Ilahi, Yazda, and Hauramazda, and God the Beloved. You are named Isa, the only one worthy of worship. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. The prayer of repentance. We repent, O God, most merciful, for all our sins, for every thought that was false or unjust or unclean, for every word spoken that ought not to have been spoken, for every deed done that ought not to have been done. We repent for every deed and word and thought inspired by selfishness, and for every deed and word and thought inspired by hatred. We repent most especially for every lustful thought and every lustful action, for every lie, for all hypocrisy, for every promise given but not fulfilled, and for all slander and backbiting. Most especially also, we repent for every action that has brought ruins to others, for every word and deed that has given others pain, and for every wish that pain should befall others. In your unbounded mercy, we ask you to forgive us, O God, for all these sins committed by us, and to forgive us for our constant failures to think and speak and act according to your will. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Prayer for Baba's lovers and Mandli. Beloved God, help us all to love you more and more and more and more and still yet more until we become worthy of union with you. And help us all to hold fast to Baba's Daman till the very end. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. So, reading of the book, we had stopped on 30th April on the page marked here. The page number is 85. So, we'll continue from there. Ashok, you would like to read that? Play of Ego.
No, Mamaji, I'm unable to see the screen. I'm actually
Okay, okay. I will continue.
there is
Then I will
some
Mam,
continue.
there is some
Mamaji,
Mamaji, the prayers you were reading were from any written text or extempore?
No, no, no. It is the slides that
Okay.
Sunil had
Okay,
created.
okay.
No?
I think in
So,
the last prayer it is till, not until. So maybe there is a
oh, oh,
correction
till.
needed.
Yes.
Till.
Hold
Yeah.
fast to Baba's Daman till the very
Till.
end.
Yeah, yeah. Not until.
Sure.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can get that
Good, good,
corrected. Yeah.
good observation, Sanjay.
Okay. No, it is correctly printed. I read wrong. Okay.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Okay. Uh, then I will continue this first chapter and then somebody else will take up the next one. Okay. Path of Love book, page number 85. The play of ego. For one to declare that he is a saint and allow people to bow down and revere him without real authority is to feed one's ego with intense happiness. Simultaneously, with the feeding of the ego comes a feeling of well being. One who is addicted to opium, eating, or smoking derives a similar feeling of well being, though temporarily. After a time, the opium addict begins to feel the after effects of opium in severe constipation, loss of appetite, headache, dullness, and drowsiness. He then begins to realize that it would have been better had he not become addicted. But unfortunately, he cannot give up the habit. He has become a slave. He realizes this too late and sink into deeper addiction, being tempted to take greater and greater quantities of opium to keep pace with the gradual loss of the feeling of well-being. Similarly, one who indulges in happiness by allowing people to bow down to him without authority feels the prick of conscience later on. And with this feeling, he realizes that he has no authority but has got so used to the habit of feeding his ego in this manner that he is unable to stop the practice. He continues indulging and after a time does not pay heed to the prick of conscience. He becomes numb to the voice within. After years of addiction, it so happens one day that the opium addict is found lying unconscious in a gutter full of filth. An extra overdose of opium proves tragic for the addict who loses complete control over himself. The passerby scoffs, ridicules, points at him as a confirmed opium addict. In the same way, a person who poses as a saint without really being one starts to behave in an unworthy manner after years of indulgence in addiction to overdoses of homage. With him, contrary to the opium addict, his unworthy behavior is accounted as perfection by his followers. When he abuses others, his words are accepted as blessings. When he beats someone, his beating is accepted as the descent of his grace. When he indulges in love making with the opposite sex, it is accepted as pure love. In short, whatever he does, all and everything is accepted in a spirit of reverence and love by the followers of the man who was posed as a saint. The more unruly his behavior, the greater the admiration of the followers. And the greater the admiration, the richer becomes the feeding of the ego of the person. Eventually, he falls from the high pedestal of admiration because, not being a genuine saint, the rich doses of admiration and reverence proves too much for the ego to digest. With the fall, this opiumized saint is ridiculed. Those very persons who called themselves his followers scoff and call him a fraud. Just as an opium addict has his personal friends who extol the effect of opium and bring him into the fold, innocent people, so too a person who poses as a saint has a ring of followers who extol him and his miracles to attract others to their fold. Such miracles may be just coincidences or even genuine experiences of simple and devout followers who get desired results through their own faith in and love, even for such opiumized saints. I'll stop here for any discussion. Here, what came to my mind was the abnormal behavior of true saints is contrasted here with the behavior of this false saint also. So, how do we mortals find out which is true, which is not true, or things like that? It becomes difficult to really perceive or contact a real saint. So this should happen on its own, I think.
Yeah, I think there is one book called How to Find a Master. I don't know who has written. It's a Baba book actually.
Okay.
I've seen it in the shelves, so maybe we'll have to find out and read.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But of course, Baba has said that
Ma-
master finds you when you are ready.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Ashok, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. Basically, Baba has said that once you have come to me, and you don't have to do any more window shopping, or you don't look for anybody else, because you have come to the supreme highest of the high. So thereafter, your search for a master is not necessary. And
Yes.
second is that it's very difficult to differentiate between a fake priest and a genuine priest. I think it's difficult for us to find out in the first few meetings. Uh, and anyway, I think we should be fortunate that we've got uh, the teachings and the awakenings of Meher Baba. Anybody else can also add, but this is what I think. Jai Baba.
And one more aspect in my personal experience is that I am in contact of so many people who have faith in so many different saints. So when we interact with them, how to gel with them, because mind says, tell them this is not correct. But I refrain from that. I always leave it to their own beliefs and I keep to my belief. So this is always comes to everyone's mind, I think. And how do we pass through this without discomfort with our other people? Is a learning we have to go through, I think.
Correct. Babaji, I think the discomfort will come only if we, try to be judgmental. So we leave it to them. It's their path, So if we have firm commitment to Baba, unwavering as Baba calls it, then you just smile and get amused. That's all,
Yes,
And if the audience is receptive, you can say, yes, Baba has also said this in another words or something, They are
Yes.
open. Otherwise, if it's closed, then you can just leave it like that. And they are also at the path. We should not be thinking that somebody who is not devoted to Baba is not on the path, because Baba has said, even if you love a stone and pray a stone as he said to Iraj Jasawala's father in Nagpur, when they are having a stroll, there was a big stone at a corner. And Baba indicated to him, even if you love and pray this stone, in the real term, that prayer comes to me only.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have that understanding, that it doesn't affect us. Yeah.
Yes,
All rivers merge with the same ocean. So
yes. That's why when we refer to this has happened in our group talking also. So to name a particular saint and then say all followers are fools or things like that becomes a bit irritating. I think that we should say refrain from doing. So
absolutely,
that's
absolutely.
yes, yes, that came to my mind. That's why. Okay. So
Mamaji,
continuing. Ah, tell me.
uh, Baba has said that you just put my name into the ears of
Ah,
anybody who you think should know it, and you speak about me. There is no problem. We, of course, we should have full 100% conviction. And he says, from the ears to the heart, it is my duty to bring
yes,
it.
yes,
And and as Sanjay has said that the master comes when the seeker is, ready.
ready, receptive.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. So I mean, even if we spread the Baba's name to one person with full conviction, that's good enough. I mean,
yes,
but we should have 100% or even 200% conviction that yes, he is the highest of the high.
yes.
Yeah, Baba.
Okay, continuing part two of the same agenda. One who has no authority and yet permits people to bow down to him plays a losing game. By those who bow down gain, the, the unburdening of samskaras of those who bow down at his feet is the cause of his loss. For he takes on sanskaras that are only be wiped off by many more births. The point to be considered in this, if thousands can benefit at the cost of a false saint, should this person be allowed to continue? If such a person is already in contact with a perfect master and loves him, the master immediately puts a check and corrects the shortcomings and warns his lovers about such unauthorized behavior. If, however, such a person is not already in contact with perfect master, the master never interferes because eventually this person also derives some benefit. The master knows that this is the play of ego. The cause of any eventual benefit to such a person is that at the cost of his own condemnation, he proved to be a dustbin for thousands to help their sanskaras therein. There is no doubt that in his subsequent birth, his behavior makes the person suffer much more due to this burden of acquired sanskaras. But with the intensity of his suffering, the redeeming factor is the speed with which these acquired sanskaras get wiped off. They are wiped off in proportion to the intensity of suffering. Along with the wiping off of the acquired sanskaras, his own sanskaras also get wiped off speedily. Part 3. Just as an unauthorized person posing as a saint proves a source of benefit to thousands, so also he proves of harm to many. All this is a play of illusion. As an opium addict feels unhappy to give a tiny bit of opium to another, and that other, when he gets the taste of it, hands over another small dose to his own friend, creating a circle of opium eaters. The two or three persons close to opiumized saint of our discourse start spreading news that such and such a woman was blessed with a child, and that another got her wish fulfilled, and that the saint performed many such miracles. A clique of followers around the opiumized saint is created. But this happy picture does not last long. For after some years, so happens that at least one finds out one day that his master is a fraud, and this is not and is not God realized. The impact of such a great setback in his confirmed belief is so forceful that all his sanskaras, which he had inadvertently transferred to the saint in his belief and devotion, all of a sudden recoil on him spontaneously, and they overburden him afresh. Thus, the person who had placed faith in the opiumized saint suffers a great deal. Let us view the picture from another angle. Suppose I am the opiumized saint and you love me and revere me as the perfect master. Your love becomes so deep and your faith so great that you actually make progress on the spiritual path and really begin to have experiences of the path. In this instance, you are surely benefited at the hands of the opiumized saint. Whereas in the previous case, opiumized saint has done a great harm. Through such saints, harm and benefit recoil and accrue. But all this is a play of illusion. It is all my play. None can fathom me as I really am. I am in everyone and I do everything. Simultaneously, I also do nothing. Be brave, be happy, and you are all one. And the infinite that eternally belongs to me will one day belong to every individual. Okay, I'll break here for any discussion. So this is a part of it we had also discussed earlier before we started reading the part 2 and 3. So can anyone take up reading from here? I'm getting a slight irritation in the throat.
Sure. See, if anybody is not reading, I can read it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. On split ego or split I. Introducing the discourse on split Baba said, you must have heard about split personality. Stories have been developed on this theme. Most of you must have heard of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, a combination of good and evil characters in one. It is example of split personality. Such a thing to some extent is common in all. One day a person feels happy and is in buoyant mood. The same person the next day or the next hour may feel dejected and depressed. One day he does good actions and the next he is engaged in actions which are undesirable. Uh, just as there is a split personality, so there is also split ego. All do not have a split personality, but all do have a split ego. I, split ego, I. The real I of all is one. There is also false I in every individual, which gives rise to his separative existence. The infinite real I, which is one and in all is apparently split into innumerable finite false I's. Sorry, is apparently split into innumerable finite false I's, giving rise to separative individualized existence. Individualized existence. In short, it is the one real I that plays the part of innumerable finite false I's is multifarious ways in varying degrees. The main support of false I is ignorance. False I utilizes three channel or means for its expressions. The gross body, in bracket the physical body, the subtle body, the energy, and mental body, in the bracket, the mind. In other words, with the support of ignorance, the real I takes itself as a false I and tries to derive fun out of the situation. In doing this, the false I continuously gets sets back and endures great sufferings. Eventually, the real I gets fed up and stops playing the part of false I. As soon as the real I stops playing the part of the false I, it becomes conscious of its real pristine state. This consciousness is eternal, and it also realizes that being eternally happy, its experience of being fed up was a sheer nonsensical ignorance. Nonsensical ignorance. The real I, when playing the part of false I, whatever it does, sees, feels, thinks, understands, says, is false because the false I is virtually false itself. So, shall
Any discussion on this false I and the real I? So this, I think, is ego part of man, and the false ego which rules over us throughout has to disappear, or we have to make efforts to get out of it. Then alone the real I is experienced by us. The universal ego will establish itself.
2. The aim of all yogas is one. The aim is that the false ego or the falsity of the split ego should disappear and the real ego be manifested in its reality. In other words, the real I, which plays the part of the false I, should completely forget to play the part and assert itself as it really is. It becomes impossible for the real I to forget that it is a playing the part of false I. The real I tries to forget the part it plays of the false I through action, in bracket karma yoga. For example, take Erach. His is the real I within, but as Erach, he is the false I. Now the real I within Erach tries to forget that it is playing only the part of the false I as Erach. While trying to do so, the false I as Erach tries its best to serve so many other false eyes. But the fun is that one false eye, in its struggle to forget, efface itself, remembrance, remembers so many other false eyes while bent upon serving them. The one real I, which is the one real I, which is eternally free, gets apparently bound by the process. And it is eternally trying to forget and to trying to remember at one and at the same time. And the same time. In another type of yoga, in the bracket bhakti yoga, the real I, while acting the part of the false I, try to worship the real. The false I cannot be anything but the false, and it cannot have any conception of the real I. The real I acting as a false I. The real I acting as a false I forms a false conception of the real I. Then what does the false I says? It says, "O real I worship thee in all." And the tragedy is that when the false I prays to and worship the real I, it sees and comes across only the innumerable false eyes. In fact, it worships other false eyes rather than the one and real eye. However, the path of love, in the bracket Prem Yoga, is unique because of its real I plays the part of the false I, while it itself covertly remains in the background as the beloved. And while continuing to play this part, it burns or consumes its false ego to remain ultimately itself as the beloved. In Erech, for example, the real I acts as the false I and loves the real I within. On the other hand, there is the real I and on the other, there is a false I as Erech. But there are not two separate eyes. The false I as Erech tries to bestow love on the real I. And that is why the gradual increase in the love and with the greater intensity of longing, the false I by degrees gets more and more consumed, effaced by love, affected by love. All the while, the real I, as the beloved, remains in the background as really, as it really is. Eventually, when the false I is totally consumed, there remains neither the false I nor love. The beloved, as the real I, reg, reg, reigns supreme as one infinite, indivisible self. In the subtle planes, the inner experience of the real I may be said to be divine hallucination. In the mental planes, the inner experience of the real I may be said to the spiritual nightmare. Inner experiences and in the divine awakening, inner experience and in divine awakening.
End in divine awakening.
Yeah,
Okay.
in divine awakening. Sorry.
Any comments on this or any discussion needed? Baba has portrayed in the way of false and real I all the aspects of the path of spiritual progress also in these paragraphs. So we have come to the third section, the art of discipleship.
Yeah.
Discipleship, I think.
Oh, discipleship. Sorry.
Yeah.
It
You can
is
continue reading, I think.
okay. It is said the master appears when one is ready. But how can one be ready for perfection and all its ways? Therefore, perfection in the guise of the master must come down to the level of imperfection and help us to the true disciple. That is why at times the
Disciple.
master of
Disciple. He
sorry,
pronounces disciple.
yeah, disciple. Sorry,
Disciple. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
disciple, and help us to be the true disciple. That is why at times the master often plays the role of disciple. He shows, not tells us how to behave, especially in relation to him. The following are a few of the invaluable hints to the seeker from the one who is sought. 12 ways of realizing me. The master points out 12 ways in which the spiritual seeker may realize his own divine self, which is one within all and which is completely manifested in the perfect master. First, longing. If you experience that same longing and thirst for union with me as one who has been lying for days in the hot sun of the Sahara experiences the longing for water, then you will realize me. Peace of mind. If you have a piece of a frozen lake, then too you will realize me. Humility. If you have the humility of the earth which can be molded into any shape, then you will know me. Desperation. If you experience the desperation that caused a man to commit suicide and you feel that you cannot live without seeing me, then you will see me. Fifth, faith. If you have a complete faith that Kalyan had for his master in believing it was night, although it was day, because his master said so, then you will know me. Fidelity. If you have a fidelity that the breath has in giving you calm,
Company.
company, even without you are constantly feeling it till the end of your life, that both in happiness and suffering gives you company and never turns against you, then you will know me. 7. Control thought love. When your love for me drives away your lust for the things of the sense, and then you realize me. 8. Selfless service. If you have a quality of selfless service unaffected by results, similar to that of the sun, which serves the world by shining in all creation, on the grass in the field, on the birds in the air, on the beast in the forest, all, on all mankind with its sinner and its saint, its rich and its poor, unconscious of their attitude toward it, then you will win me. Renunciation. If you renounce for me everything physical, mental, and spiritual, then you have me. 10th, obedience. If your obedience is spontaneous, complete, and natural as the light is to the eye or smell is to the nose, then you come to me. 11th, surrender. If your surrender to me is as wholehearted as that of one who, suffering from insomnia, surrenders to sudden sleep without fear of being lost, then you have me. 12. Love. If you have that love for me that Saint Francis had for Jesus, then not only will you realize me, but you will please me.
Okay, these are the uh, part of the prayer in one way or the other. 12 ways of realizing me. So, any inputs from anyone regarding this?
I, for these 12 steps, I think for these also, I think we need a grace of Baba. Means,
Yes,
to
yes,
get to get the faith, to get that kind of longing. Yeah, means we can try, but still, I think we need a grace of Baba to go up to that level. That's what I feel.
yes, yes. So, we will be starting, but stop somewhere in between. And every time we stop and then go along. So, every time, if we can climb a half step or a full step, that is progress. So, if we climb one step and get down two steps, that is not progress. So, we need to keep up this movement always ahead. So, it's a different climb. It is not so easy as what is told here. Say there are so many say grades he has expressed here. If you experience the desperation that causes a man to commit suicide, and you feel that you cannot live without seeing me, then you will see me. So that is the depth of what is told in every aspect. It is this extreme depth. So we need to reach that pinnacle. Then alone we will be with Baba, I think. Yes, moving further, can anyone else take over from here? Reading. Sanjay ji.
Okay, let me. Yeah, I'll read. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
The high roads to God. In an important sense, all walks of life and all paths ultimately lead but to one goal, that is God. All rivers enter into ocean in spite of the diverse directions in which they flow, and in spite of many meanderings which characterize their paths. However, there are certain high roads which take the pilgrim directly to his divine destination. They are important because they avoid prolonged wanderings in the wilderness of complicated byways, in which the pilgrim is often unnecessarily caught up. The rituals and ceremonies of organized religions can lead the seeker only to the threshold of the true inner journey, which proceeds along certain high roads. These remain distinct from each other for a very considerable distance, though towards the end they all get merged in each other. In the earlier phases, they remain distinct, owing to the diversity of sanskaric contexts of individuals and the differences of their temperaments. In any case, it should be clear from the very beginning that though the roads may be many, the goal and is and always will be only one, which is attainment of union with God. The quickest of these high roads lies through the God man, who is consciously one with the truth. In the God man, God reveres himself in all his glory, with his infinite power, unfathomable knowledge, inexpressive bliss, and eternal existence. The path through the God man is available only to those fortunate ones who approach him in complete surrenderance and unwavering faith. Complete surrenderance to the God man is, however, possible only to very advanced aspirants. But when this is not possible, the other high roads which can eventually win the grace of the God are number one.
Here, I'll just stop you here. There is one line which is unique here. Uh, uh, this one. His glory with his infinite power, unfathomable knowledge, inexpressive bliss. So we know these three is the characteristic always explained. But Baba is here adding another aspect, eternal existence. So this is the fourth element added here. So existence is definition of God in the seven realities also comes as the number one, I think. So here he has put this together with power, knowledge, and bliss. So any inputs from anyone regarding this? This is the first time I am seeing that the fourth element is also brought together here.
Yes,
Jai
yes,
Baba,
you're
I
right.
think that exists. Jai Baba.
Yes.
I'm in Mehrabad. I'm just coming from the Samadhi, going to MPR. Anyway, so what Doc Mama is saying about existence, it's only an aspect of God.
Yes.
The Satchitananda, that is power, knowledge, bliss, is the quality, the attributes. So there's a difference between attributes and aspect. So the seven realities, the only real existence is that of the one and only God, who is the self, capital self, and every other small self, the ego personality self or the drop zone. So there are different aspects of God, which I have my own terminology for that. One is existence, one is divine love.
Mama, we lost you.
Then truth, then infinity. Oops, can you hear me? Yeah, hello. Yeah. So the five aspects are already defined in the first two realities: existence, capital self, love, which is divine love, truth, infinity. I have added infinite intelligence, and the other one you can call it Satchitananda, seven different aspects of God. So these are all rhetorical, I think I understand because we can get carried away, but the real quality of God realization is you experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which is infinite power, knowledge, and bliss, Satchitananda. Existence is an aspect of God, depending on the context of what we are discussing. That's my understanding, Jai Baba. Because if you read the essay, Purposelessness in Infinite Existence, there you have a clear idea about how existence is defined, Jai Baba.
Thank you. Any other Inputs?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 1, the love for God and intense longing to see Him and to be united with Him. Number 2, bring in constant being in constant company with the saints and lovers of God and rendering them wholehearted service. Number 3, avoiding lust, greed, anger, hatred, and the temptations for power, fame, and fault finding. Number 4, leaving everyone and everything in complete external renunciation, and in solitude, devoting oneself to fasting, prayer, and meditation. Number 5, carrying on all worldly duties with equal acceptance of success or failure, with a pure heart and clean mind, and remaining unattached in the midst of intense activity. 6, selfless service of humanity without any thoughts of gain and reward. Yeah. Dissertation on love. What is love? To give and never to ask. What leads to this love? Grace. What leads to this grace? Grace is not cheaply bought. It is gained by being always ready to serve and reluctant to be served. There are many points which lead to this grace. Wishing well for others at the cost of one's self. Never backbiting. Tolerance supreme. Trying not to worry. Trying not to worry is almost impossible. So try. Thinking most of the good points in others and less of their bad points. 3, the art of, okay, this is the title. Yeah. What leads to this grace? Doing all the above. If you do one of these things perfectly, then rest must follow. Then grace descends. Have love, and when you have love, the union with the beloved is certain. When Christ said, love your neighbor, he did not mean fall in love with your neighbor. When you love, you give. When you fall in love, you want. Love me in any way you like, but love me. It is all the same. Love me. I am pure, the source of purity. So I consume all weaknesses in my fire of love. Give your sins, weaknesses, virtues, all to me, but give. I would not mind even one falling in love with me. I can purify. But when you fall in love with anybody else, you cannot call it love. Love is pure as God. It gives and never asks, that needs grace. Yogis in the Himalayas, with their long eyelashes and long beards, meditating, sitting in samadhi, they too have not this love. It is so precious. The mother dies for the child's supreme sacrifice, yet it is not love. Heroes die for their country, but that is not love. Love. You know when you have love. You cannot understand theoretically. You have to experience it. Majnu loved Laila. This was pure love, not physical, not intellectual, but spiritual love. He saw Laila in everything and everywhere. He never thought of eating, drinking, sleeping without thinking of her, and all the time he wanted her happiness. He would have gladly seen her married to another if he knew that would make her happy, and die for her husband if he thought she would be happy in that. At last, it led him to me, no thought of self, but of the beloved, every second and continuously. You would not be able to do that if you tried. It needs grace. Trying leads to grace. Wow. What is God? Love. Infinite love is God. Jai Baba.
Trying leads to grace. Yes. So our effort is important to get the grace of the Lord.
Yeah. Ashok, you would like to read?
No, he is not able to see the text, I think. I will continue.
Hey, Jai Baba, I'm unable to see the text and I'm on the move actually. My apologies.
Okay. No problem.
I will continue. Okay. Sahawas. Sahawas is the intimacy of give and take of love. I am the only beloved and you are all my lovers. And I am the only lover and you all are many beloveds. I am the only beloved and you all are my lovers. Or I am the only lover and you all are my beloveds. I want you all to remain happy in my sahwas. This will be the last sahwas. I am the ocean of love. Draw as much of this love as possible. Make the most of this opportunity. It rests with you to draw as much love as possible out of the ocean. It does not rest with me to explain to you how you should love me. Does a husband or a wife explain to one another how to love? One thing is certain, I want to give you my love. It depends on each of you to receive it. The easy way to receive it is to forget your home, family, and all worldly affairs when you are here and be receptive to my love. This is the first thing to follow if you want to receive the maximum of my love. The second thing to love is to have a good night's rest, sleep well each night, and feel fresh when you come here for my sahavas each day. I am God. If you remain drowsy in my presence, you will miss me, and your drowsiness will oblige you to remain absent from my presence, in spite of your daily attendance. Sahas means intimate companionship. To establish this companionship, you should be free with me. Sahas is the intimacy of give and take of love between the lovers and the beloved. There is no need to explain this give and take of love. To create an atmosphere of explanations and discourses is to mar the dignity of love, which is established only in the closest of intimacy. How do I participate in the sahwas? I bow down to myself, I embrace myself. It is I who smile, who weep. It is Baba who sits here on the dais seat, and it is Baba who squats on the ground in the tent. Baba meets Baba. Baba consoles Baba, pets Baba, chides Baba. It is all Baba, Baba, Baba. Such is my experience of participation in the sahwas. Drink deep at the fountain of love, but do not lose consciousness. If we can but taste even a drop of this love, what is wonderful, what a wonderful experience it will be. Have you any idea of what this sahwas is? He who approaches me with a heart full of love has my sahwas. After a drop, after I drop this body and my passing away from your mess, many things will be said about this sahwas. Take fullest advantage of this opportunity in the living presence of the avatar. Forget everything else but my sahwas and concentrate all your attention on me. I am the ancient one. This is the last Sahwas he is referring to. I don't know when it happened. Okay. 7 Sahwas sayings. Desire for nothing except desirelessness. Hope for nothing except to rise above all hopes. Want nothing and you will have everything. Seek not to possess anything but to surrender everything. Serve others with understanding that in them you are serving me. Be resigned completely to my will, and my will be yours. Let nothing shake your faith in me, and all your bindings will be shaken off. Real happiness lies in making others happy. The real desire is that which leads you to become perfect in order to make others perfect. The real aim is that which aims to make others become God by first attaining Godhood yourself. Be angry with none but your weakness. Hate none but your lustful self. Be greedy to one more and more wealth of tolerance and justice. Be greedy to own more and more wealth of tolerance and justice. Let your temptation be to tempt me with your love in order to receive my grace. Wage war against your desires, and Godhood will be your victory. Love others as you would love yourself, and all that is yours. Fortunate are they whose love is tested by misfortunes. Love demands that lover sacrifices for the beloved. Real living is dying for God. Live less for yourself and more for others. One must die to one's own self to be able to live in all other selves. One who dies for God lives forever. This period of Sahwas is the period of my suffering and helplessness. My glorification will follow my humiliation. This is a very powerful set of sayings where Baba takes the most clear negativities in explaining the positivity. That's a real art also built in here. Desire for nothing. He says be desireless. But here he is saying desire for nothing except desirelessness. So desire desirelessness. Hope for nothing except to rise above all hopes. Want nothing and you will have everything. So this is the way the whole Sahwas goes on. If you allow me, I will read it once again. Look at this in the aspect I told you. Seek not to possess anything, but to surrender everything. Serve others with understanding that in them you are serving me. Be resigned completely to my will, and my will be yours. Let nothing shake your faith in me, and all your bindings will be shaken off. Real happiness lies in making others happy. The real desire is that which leads you to become perfect in order to make others perfect. The real aim is that which aims to make others become God by first attaining Godhood yourself. Be angry with none but your weakness. Hate none but your lustful self. Be greedy to own more and more wealth of tolerance and justice. Wealth of tolerance and justice. Let your temptation be to tempt me with your love in order to receive my grace. Wage war against your desires, and Godhood will be your victory. Love others as you would love yourself and all that is yours. Fortunate are they whose love is tested by misfortunes. Love demands that the lover sacrifice for the beloved. Real living is dying for God. Live less for yourself and more for others. One must die to one's own self to be able to live in all other selves. One who dies for God lives forever. This period of Sahas is period of my suffering and helplessness. Baba here may be referring that he is suffering and helpless so that he is able to say give us all the grace by his suffering and helplessness. My glorification will follow my humiliation. Jai Baba. On obedience, giving an introduction to his discourse on different types of obedience, Baba said in one of his couplets, Hafiz says, how can you step on the path of truth unless you step out of the boundary of your own nature? How can you step on the path of truth unless you step out of the boundary of your own nature? Baba continued, the path of God realization has untold and intolerable hardships and sufferings. Even yogis, saints, and Satpurushas are unable to fathom my reality. Hafiz speaks of stepping out of the boundary of one's own nature before one dares to step onto the path of reality. But what is one's own nature? I am not going to repeat the theme of evolution of forms and consciousness, which has been explained at length in God Speaks. Best to begin this discourse with the birth of a child. The child takes birth according to his past karma, sanskaras, and impressions. He will act, think, feel according to his sanskaras gathered in the past lives. There is no way out of it for the child. This is what I call the law of must. This law sticks to the child from birth to death. It has formulated the nature of the child and has become the child's very nature. The child cannot get out of it. In addition to this inexorable law of must, the environmental circumstances of the child are such that he cannot but act and feel according to the impressions of the experiences of past lives. When the baby is born, it must cry. Mother must feed the baby. Its very sex is determined by the law of must. If the baby is a male child, it is so because it must be born a male child. If it is a female child, it is so because it must be born a female. And when the child grows into a man or woman, it becomes what it does become because it must be so. Do not confuse this nature with capital letter, the entire panorama of the earth and its seasons. Your nature is the nature created by you and nurtured by you. It is one's own nature that is responsible for the body one takes on, the shape, the complexion, the health, sickness, appetite, temperament, etc. In short, anything and everything connected with one's own self, physical, subtle, and mental. Now, to return to the difficulties on the path, I say that it is impossible even for one on the path to fathom my real state. Why is it impossible? Hafiz says that unless one steps out of the limitations of one's own nature, routine of life, one cannot step on the path of reality. Here, realization of reality is obviously not meant. What Hafiz means is that it is impossible to realize your real self as long as you are bound within the limitations of your own nature. This means that you should go against your very nature, against the very nature of your physical, subtle, and mental bodies. Thus, if you are hungry, you should not eat. If you are not hungry, you should eat. When you feel like sleeping, you should not sleep. When you do not feel like sleeping, you should sleep. This is what Hafiz means by going against one's own nature, stepping out of the boundary of your nature. Again, if you wish to see anything, you should not. And if you do not wish to see, you should see. When you exert yourself, you pant, but you should not pant. You should feel normal. Your breathing should be normal breathing, just when you are out of breath. You are sitting silently listening to this discourse and your breathing is normal. It must not be so, according to the couplet of Hafiz. From all this, you will understand how impossible it is to go against your own nature and realize me as I really am. But here, Hafiz himself comes to your rescue and says that there is a solution. This solution too is most difficult, but at least it is less impossible. In another of his couplets, Hafiz says, "Oh, you, if you ever get possessed by madness to realize God, then become the dust at the feet of a perfect master, Kutub or Sadguru." Hafiz uses the word madness to depict once again that it is a sheer impossibility to realize this state of reality. The question now arises as to how should one become dust at the feet of a perfect master. Dust has not thought of its own, whether it is trampled upon or applied to the forehead of a man or remains suspended in the air or water. It is all one and the same to it. I tell you that there is no truer and better example of complete obedience than becoming like a dust. Baba remarked, "Those who cannot follow this discourse should not worry. Just concentrate on me. Words have no real value. It is good if you can understand. If you do not, why worry?" Summing up this discourse, Baba repeated what a Sufi poet had said. After years and years of longing for union with God, only one out of a million uh, Mardan-e Khuda, men of God, realized God. Only one out of a million realized God. In the end, Baba gave assurance by saying, "Be brave, be happy. I and you are all one, and the infinite that eternally belongs to me will one day belong to every individual." Baba pointed out that it was incorrect to say, "You all and I are one." The truth is, I and you all are one. Okay. "You all and I are one" is not correct. The correct is, the truth is, I and you all are one. God and we are the same. Okay. So, powerful way of explaining. Yes.
Maybe you are ready from very long time. I can read if you want.
Sure, 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 sure.
Okay. Surrender. He who genuinely surrenders to a perfect master surrenders completely without asking for permission to do so. He does not even expect acceptance of his surrender from the master. Complete surrender in itself embodies the acceptance of one who has surrendered completely as he ought to have done. The lover and the beloved. Beloved God is in all. What is then the duty of the lover? It is to make the beloved happy without sparing himself. Without giving a second thought to his own happiness, the lover should seek the pleasure of the beloved. The only thought of lover of God should have is to make the beloved happy. Thus, if you stop thinking of your own happiness and give happiness to others, you will then indeed play the part of the lover of God, because beloved God is in all. But while giving happiness to others, if you have an iota of thought of self, it is then not love but affection. This tends to seek happiness for the self while making others happy. As an example, one, a husband's affection for his wife. The husband wants to give happiness to his wife, but while doing so, he thinks of his own happiness too. A mother's affection for her child. From this affection, the mother derives happiness purely out of giving and seeking happiness for her child. Love and devotion. Love burns the lover. Devotion burns the beloved. Love seeks happiness for the beloved. Devotion seeks for blessing from the beloved. Love seeks to shoulder the burden of the beloved. 3. Art of discipline. Art of discipleship. Art of discipline.
Ashish,
Yeah.
we pronounce this as beloved. It's not
Yeah,
beloved.
beloved.
So because this
Okay.
word is used so often, I thought let me,
Yes, yes.
beloved. Yeah,
Beloved.
Beloved. Okay, beloved.
beloved. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Beloved.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Beloved. 3. The art of discipleship. Discipleship. Okay.
That's
Devotion
the
throws
chapter we are reading. Okay, okay. Good.
devotion throws the burden of beloved. Yeah, sorry. Devotion throws the burden of the beloved. Love gives. Beloved love gives. Devotion asks. Love is silent and sublime, devoid of outward expressions. Devotion expresses itself outwardly. Outwardly. Love does not require the presence of beloved in order to love. Devotion demands the presence of the beloved to express affection for the beloved. Love is the remedy. Do not give undue importance to explanation and discourses. Words fail to give any meaning to reality, because when one supposes that one has understood, one has not understood. One is far from understanding anything so far as the reality is concerned. Sorry, words fail to give any meaning to reality, because when one supposes that one has understood, one has not understood. One is far from understanding anything so far as reality is concerned. Okay. Reality is beyond human understanding, in brackets Samaj, for it is beyond intellect. Understanding cannot help because God is beyond understanding. The moment you try to understand God, you misunderstand Him. Misunderstand in the double quotation. You miss Him when you try to understand Him. Intellect must go before intellect must go before knowledge dawns. All this is show of fun in the bracket tamasha, a play. All this is a show of fun in the bracket tamasha as a play. Mind must go because the fun lies in the mind, and the fun is that the mind must annihilate itself. One man, only Manonash, annihilation of mind, in bracket, annihilation of mind, takes one to reality. If I tell you to jump over the another person, you can do it, but you cannot jump over yourself. At the most, you would turn somersault. But there is a way to annihilate the mind. The way is love. Just consider ordinary human love. When a man or woman is deeply in love with his or her partner, nothing comes between them. Nothing comes between them. They get totally lost in love for one another. There is neither admiration nor fault finding. There is a total absence even of exchange of thought. Love prevails without thoughts. Without thoughts, mind become mind become defunct for the time being. For in such intense human love, mind does not come into the play. The mind apparently gets annihilated for the fraction of second when love and loving are at the zenith. This brings about a state similar to trance. If ordinary human love can go so far, what should be said of the height of love divine? I am the ancient one. I am the ancient one, the one residing in every heart. Therefore, love others, make others happy, serve others, even in the discomfort to yourself. This is to love me. I suffer for the whole universe. I must suffer infinitely unless I suffered. How could I ask my lovers to suffer for others? I am one with all in every level. I am one with all on every plane of consciousness, and I am the beyond all planes of consciousness. My wish. Baba said, the lover has to keep the wish of beloved. Beloved, my wish for my lovers is as follows. Do not shrink your responsibilities. Attend faithfully to your worldly duties, but keep always in the back of your mind that all this is Baba's. Third, when you feel happy, think Baba wants me to be happy. When you suffer, think Baba wants me to suffer. Four, be resigned to every situation and think honestly and sincerely Baba has placed me in this situation. Fifth, with the understanding that Baba is in everyone, try to help and serve others. Sixth, I say with my divine authority to each and all that whosoever take my name at the time of breathing his last comes to me. So do not forget to remember me in your last moments. Unless you start remembering me from now on, it will be difficult to remember me when your end approaches. You should start practicing from now on. Even if you take my name only once every day, you will not forget remember me in your dying moments. So here, I one confusion I have here is like Baba is saying, if you take my name at your end, you will directly come to me. Means like going to Baba means is it like realization kind of thing, or what exactly? Or Baba takes care of what exactly happens?
So it is akin to moksha. So
Yeah, so
you will
it's
not have further birth, cycle of birth and death.
okay. So God realization.
It is a step below God realization. It is the end of this cycle where you are in the bliss, powerful bliss of God's presence with you. You may not have full power and knowledge, but still you will feel the bliss. So that is at least that much is enough, and then you are not put once again into the cycle of births and death. So that means you have totally ablated all your sanskaras. So your account becomes zero.
Because in the previous page it mentioned just millions, in the millions one person get the uh,
Realization.
realization.
Yes,
Okay.
that is a step ahead. So in the path, the plane 6 and 7 and beyond, the journey beyond the seventh plane uh, is not for everyone. So the jumping of from sixth to seventh is more than enough. That's what they say, and that's why it is called as moksha. So at the end of either the end of this innings of our living, or maybe in future innings, if we can go to that step where we do not come back into life, and go through this, say, everlasting sanskaric binding, that is a great relief, no? So that is going to Baba means probably here Baba is referring to that. I would like to have input from others, from my interpretation. Sanjay ji?
Yeah, nothing further to add, Mamaji.
Okay.
This is something had Kama been there, probably he would have explained better. Yeah, Jai Baba. That's what generally we have understood this minimum ordinary mukti, as we call it.
Okay.
Yeah, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. So shall we move further or?
We will go through this and then stop it. How to love
Okay.
God.
Yeah, sure. How to love God. To love God is the most practical way is to love our fellow beings. If we feel if we feel for others in the same way as we feel for our own dear ones, we love God. If instead of seeing faults in others, we look within ourselves, we are loving God. If instead of robbing others to help ourselves, we rob ourselves to help others, we are loving God. If we suffer in the suffering of others and feel happy in the happiness of others, we are loving God. If instead of worrying over our own misfortunes, we think ourselves more fortunate than many others. Many others. We are loving God. If we endure our lot with patience and contentment, accepting it as His will, we are loving God. I will read it again. If we endure our lot with the patience and contentment, accepting it as is His will, we are loving God. To love God as He ought to be loved, we must live for God and die for God, knowing that the goal of life is to love God and find Him as our own self.
Okay. We will start this tomorrow morning. So we have some 5 minutes time. Any interaction, and then we will have the prayer by Sanjay ji, and then close.
Okay. Hari Paramatma Allah Ahur Mast God Yazdan Hari Paramatma Allahur Mast God Yazdan Hari Paramatma Allahur Mast God Yazdahu Hari Paramatma Allahur Mast God Yazdahu Hari Paramatma Allah Ahur Mast God Yazdahu Hari Paramatma Allahur Mast God Yazdahu तार मेहर बाबा की